The Quarat do not conquer. I want that recorded because the histories afterward will say otherwise, and they will be lies told by frightened people. We are not an empire of war. We are an empire of health. 1100 years ago our own homeworld nearly died of a plague we bred ourselves through carelessness, and from that near death we built a single sacred principle that governs everything we are. Suffering must be prevented before it begins. We are physicians to the galaxy. Where we find a species ascending toward the stars in pain, overpopulated, warring, starving, tearing itself apart, we do not invade, we treat. Earth is the sickest patient we have ever found. I have spent 6 years studying them from the quiet dark beyond their moon, and I have never seen a species suffer as humans suffer. They are at war with themselves constantly. Not one war, dozens, always, somewhere, blood and grief without end. They starve in sight of plenty. They die of diseases they have the knowledge but not the will to cure. They are 8 billion souls packed onto one small world, breeding faster than they can feed, and every projection the directorate runs shows the same thing. Within 2 centuries they collapse, total ecological failure, billions dead in famine and plague, and the wars that famine and plague will bring. They are a species drowning, and they do not even know the water is rising. The Synod has authorized the mercy. The mercy is the kindest thing we know how to do. It is a virus engineered, elegant, painless. It does not kill. I need that understood. It does not kill. It is a gentling. It spreads through a population and it quiets them. It dampens the aggression, softens the drives that lead to war and frantic breeding and the desperate overreach that is killing them. A species that takes the mercy stops fighting, stops straining. Their numbers ease down gently over generations to a level their world can sustain, and they live on, calm and peaceful and reduced, tended by us, saved from themselves. We have done this 9 times. 9 species who were drowning now drift in still water, alive because we made them quiet. The Synod calls it the mercy, and I have always believed the name was honest. Tomorrow I release it into Earth's atmosphere. By this time next year the wars will be ending. The frantic, brilliant, agonized striving of humanity will begin, gently to still. I have devoted my life to the prevention of suffering, and tomorrow I prevent more suffering than any Quarat who has ever lived. I should feel triumph. I write this down because I want to remember later that what I actually felt standing over the release valve was something I could not name, watching that blue and burning world turn below me, so loud even from here, so terribly, wastefully alive. I released it at dawn their time. May it be the mercy we intend. Entry Day 40. Something is wrong with the readings, and I do not yet understand it. The mercy is spreading exactly as modeled. It is in every population center on the planet now, the infection curve flawless. But the effect is wrong. In all 9 prior species, by day 40, we saw the gentling begin, a measurable drop in conflict, a quieting. The patient grows calm as the medicine takes hold. Earth is not growing calm, Earth is growing loud. In the 40 days since I released the mercy, human activity has not decreased. It has spiked, a sudden, violent, global surge of it, every population center blazing with energy on every instrument I have. At first I thought the virus had failed, that humans were simply immune. But the infection is real. My readings confirm the mercy is in nearly every human body on the planet. It has taken hold. It is doing something. It is simply not doing what it has done to every other species we have ever treated. I do not understand. I am going to watch. Entry, Day 112. I have made a terrible error, and I am only now beginning to see its shape. I have been monitoring the human communications I can intercept, and I have learned what the surge of activity is. When the mercy began to spread, when humans across the world started falling ill with a strange new sickness that dampened them, slowed them, quieted them, humanity did not drift into the gentle stillness the mercy was designed to produce. Humanity declared war on the disease. I do not know how else to say it. The other 9 species, when the Mercy took them, experienced the quieting as a kind of peace, and went into it without a fight, because the virus dampens precisely the part of a mind that resists, that strains, that refuses. That is the elegance of the design. It softens the will first, so that the patient cannot struggle against the treatment. It softened humanity's will too. The instruments confirm it. Every human on Earth is infected. Every human is being chemically pushed towards stillness and surrender, and humanity, with its will deliberately and successfully dampened, with the part of them that fights chemically suppressed, is fighting anyway. The global surge is not war between humans. For the first time in their blood-soaked history, the wars between humans have stopped, not because the Mercy calmed them, but because they have turned, all of them, every nation at once, against the thing in their blood. The surge is 8 billion frightened, dampened, dying people throwing the entire output of their civilization at a single problem: understand the disease and kill it. The Mercy was supposed to make that impossible. It suppresses the will to resist, and humanity is resisting with a will that, by every measure I have, should not still be there. They are fighting past the suppression. They are fighting on a level beneath the one the Mercy can reach. I told the Synod the Mercy could not be resisted, because in 9 species it never had been. I am beginning to be afraid that I told them this, because I had never released it onto a species that did not know how to surrender. Entry, Day 290. I have stopped sleeping properly. I watch the planet now the way one watches a fire that will not go out. They are making progress. I can track it in their communications, the disease, which they have named and mapped in sequence with a speed that frightens my colleagues when I report it, is being dismantled. Humans have done in months what should take a species, even a healthy one, years. And they are doing it while sick, while dampened, while by my instruments every one of them is being pushed every moment toward the gentle giving up that took the other 9 species without a struggle. I have begun to understand the thing I did not understand at the start, and I am recording it here because I think it is the most important thing I have learned in my life, and I do not think I will be allowed to say it aloud. The Mercy works on every species because every species underneath everything wants to rest. The drives we dampen: aggression, striving, the frantic refusal to accept limits. These are in every other species a kind of fever, painful, exhausting. When the Mercy quiets them, the species feels relief. They sink into the stillness gratefully because the fighting was the suffering and we took the fighting away. Humans do not experience the fighting as the suffering. For humans, the fighting is the self. The frantic striving we diagnosed as their disease, the refusal to accept limits, the wars, the desperate overreach, we read it as a fever to be cooled. We were wrong. It is not a fever. It is the load-bearing wall. It is the thing every other part of them is built on top of. And when we dampened it, when we reached in and softened the part of a human that refuses and strains and fights, we did not give them relief. We gave them the one experience their entire being is constructed to reject. We gave them surrender, injected directly into the blood. And a human body, presented with surrender, does the only thing it has ever known how to do. It fights the surrender, it fights us. I have realized tonight with a coldness in me that I cannot warm, that I did not release a sedative onto humanity. I released a provocation. I took the most stubborn species in the catalogued galaxy, and I injected into every one of them, simultaneously, the chemical message give up, and 8 billion of them, as one, in the only unified act of their entire violent history, answered it. Entry, Day 400. They have done it. I intercepted the announcement 6 hours ago and I have read it 40 times. Humanity has cured the Mercy. Not suppressed it, cured it, designed a counteragent that finds the virus in the body and unmakes it, and they are manufacturing it now at a scale my instruments can barely comprehend, flooding it across their whole population. The sickness is ending. Within weeks, there will not be a single human on Earth still carrying the Mercy. I should be reporting this to the Synod as a catastrophic failure. The treatment has failed. The patient has rejected it. That alone would be the worst result in the history of the cleansing. No species has ever thrown off the mercy. But I am not writing to report a failure. I am writing because of the other thing in the announcement, the thing that has kept me at this console for 6 hours unable to move, the thing that I think is going to end my civilization as we have known it. Humanity did not just cure the mercy. In tearing the virus apart to understand it, in mapping every elegant, cruel mechanism we built into it, human medicine learned from it. The mercy was the most sophisticated piece of biological engineering ever introduced to their world, 1100 years of Quarat genius, and we handed it to them whole by putting it in their blood. They reverse-engineered it. And then, with the speed that is their terror and their glory, they did not stop at the cure. They turned the principles of the thing that was meant to gentle them into something else. They have, in the announcement, released to their entire species, freely, to every human, the sick and the poor and the dying, a suite of medical advances derived from our virus that, by my analysis, will extend human life, end a dozen of their worst diseases, and stabilize the very ecological collapse we released the mercy to prevent. We came to save them from their suffering by quieting them. They took the weapon meant to quiet them, and they used it to actually save themselves, louder, faster, more alive, and entirely without us. The collapse we predicted in 2 centuries, they are solving it, this year, with our own technology which they would never have possessed if I had not delivered it into their veins, believing I was putting them to sleep. I have to tell the Synod, I have to tell them that we did not treat Earth, we armed it. Entry, the day the fleet was ordered. I told them, it went exactly as I feared. The Synod did not hear we made a mistake and a species saved itself. The Synod heard a sick, violent, frantic species now possesses Quarat medical engineering and is advancing at a rate we cannot match. They did not feel shame as I felt shame. They felt fear. And the Quarat, when frightened, do the thing every frightened power does. They reached past the mercy for something harsher. The Hygiene Directorate has reclassified Earth. No longer a patient, now a contagion. And the protocol for a contagion is not the gentle virus. It is the fleet. They are assembling it now not to treat Earth but to end it, to sterilize the threat before humanity, with its new and stolen and improved knowledge, can reach the stars and bring its terrible loud striving out among us. They are calling it quarantine. It is extermination, and I gave them the reason for it by telling the truth. I have one thing left that I can do, and I am going to do it, and it is why this journal exists, because after tonight I do not expect to be able to write freely again. I am going to warn them, the humans. I am going to send Earth everything, the fleet, the timeline, the protocol, the full record of what we are, what we did, what is coming. I released the mercy on them believing it was kindness. I was wrong, and the wrongness has curdled into something that will murder a species that did nothing but refuse to die quietly. I cannot undo the release, but I can give them the one thing they have never had, time and the truth, for warning. The same for warning we never gave them before I opened the valve. If humanity is what I now believe it is, time and truth may be all they need. Entry. After. I have been a long time without writing. Let me set down what happened, for whoever finds this, because the official history will be a frightened lie and someone should know the true shape of it. I sent the warning. The humans received it. And then I watched from the quiet dark beyond their moon, as a species I had tried to gently euthanize was handed proof that a sterilization fleet was coming to finish the job. And I learned, finally and completely, the thing about humanity that the mercy had only begun to teach me. They did not panic. They did not, as my models insisted a sick and frightened species would, collapse into despair or turn on each other in the face of annihilation. They had spent 400 days learning, as one species, how to fight a thing in their own blood, and that fight had done something to them, welded them in a way 10,000 years of their own history never had. The mercy was meant to end their wars by quieting them. Instead, it ended their wars by giving them, for the first time, a single enemy that was not each other. We did not gentle humanity. We united it. And the united thing turned the full force of its terrible speed toward the fleet that was coming to kill it. I will not pretend I understand everything they did in the time I bought them. Much of it was beyond my instruments and beyond my science, but I understand the shape. They took the Quarat medical engineering they had reverse engineered from the Mercy biological technology for bodies, and in the span of a few short years they turned it toward the stars, because that is the thing humans do that no other species does, the thing the Mercy could never have predicted. They take a tool built for one purpose and they ask, frantically, stubbornly, refusing every limit, what else can this do? The science we gave them to quiet their blood, they bent into a science of survival on a scale we had never imagined. Because we had never imagined a species that would need to. That would refuse the gentle death so completely that it would rebuild itself from the cells outward rather than lie down. When the fleet arrived, Earth was not the drowning, divided, frantic world I had released the Mercy upon. It was something the Quarat had no word for, because we had spent 1100 years making sure no species ever became it. It was a species that had been told to surrender at the cellular level by the finest minds of an ancient empire, and had answered by becoming, in 400 days and the few years after, the most stubborn, unified and unsurrenderable form of life the galaxy had produced. The fleet did not sterilize Earth. I will not detail what happened to the fleet, partly because I do not fully know and partly because the not knowing is itself the point. The Quarat sent a force to end a sick world, and that force met a thing that had been forged in the fire of refusing to die, and the force did not come back. That is all the Synod knows too. That is why they are so frightened now. Not because Earth attacked us. Earth has not attacked us. Earth, having survived the Mercy and the fleet both, did the thing that frightens a civilization of physicians more than any counterattack ever could. Earth offered to help. The final transmission from Earth sent not to the Synod, who tried to murder them but broadcast openly to all the worlds of the cleansing, to every quieted species drifting in the still water we made for them, was not a threat and not a demand for justice. It was an offer of the cure, not the cure for the Mercy, the cure for us. Humanity had studied the Mercy long enough to understand what it was for, to understand that the Quarat were not cruel but afraid, a species so traumatized by its own ancient plague that it had spent 1100 years putting every other species to sleep, because it could not bear the loudness of life it could not control. Humans diagnosed us. And then they did the thing their entire being is built to do, the thing the Mercy proved they cannot not do. Faced with suffering, they refused to accept it as permanent, and they built a cure, and they offered it to the 9 species we had quieted, and to the Quarat who had quieted them. They are waking the still ones, world by world, the species we gentled into peaceful reduction, the ones drifting in the calm we called Mercy. Humanity is reaching them with our own reverse-engineered science and offering to give back the loudness we took, not forcing it, offering it, the choice we never gave anyone. Some are taking it. The galaxy is, slowly, growing loud again, and the Quarat, who built our entire civilization on the prevention of that loudness, do not know what to do, because you cannot sterilize a cure, and you cannot frighten a species that has already survived your worst Mercy and your worst fleet, and you cannot quiet a thing whose entire nature is the refusal to be quieted. I have thought in the long silence since about the word we used, the Mercy. We believed it for 1100 years, and I think now that we were half right, the way the most dangerous wrong people always are. It was a Mercy that changed everything. We simply had the direction backwards. We released it to be merciful to a suffering species, and instead the species took our Mercy apart, found the fear hiding inside it, and returned to us a Mercy we never knew we needed and could never have given ourselves. The cure for our own ancient terror carried by the one people in the galaxy too stubborn to be put to sleep. I am Calden Morr. I released the virus on Earth believing it was kindness. I was wrong about the kindness and wrong about the virus and wrong about humanity, and the only thing I ever got right was the warning I sent in the dark, and even that, I think now, they did not truly need. They only needed the chance to refuse to die. That has always been the only thing humans need. I am setting this journal where the humans will find it, not the Synod. They should know I was the one. And they should know that the man who tried to put their species to sleep has, in the end, only one thing to say to the species that woke a whole galaxy back up. Thank you for not taking the mercy. It was never mercy. You knew that before we did. This journal is closed.